I've worked for organizations where boards do nothing. They don't contribute. They don't speak up. Everyone knew how to launch an organization, but in reality, they were all trying to help their organization survive.
If you want to age yourself,
exactly.
Start a nonprofit and start raising money. It's like, God, because my journey in helping nonprofits is rooted in running a for-profit company, right? So with my partner Jason and our team, which has grown into 24 people.
Oh, cool.
And the thing of it is, I'll go ahead and say it. It's like, and it's not to discourage people that are running a nonprofit or in development for a nonprofit or starting their own company, for instance, but it doesn't get easier.
No, it never gets easier.
It gets far more fulfilling over time, right? Like the work gets bigger and you start figuring things out. But man, oh man, it doesn't get easier. And then you pepper in. We were just, off air. Ryan and I were talking about just life and wanting to run marathons and all these things. And so I just had this conversation with myself on the way here because I have whenever this goes out, it goes out. But I have a triathlon this weekend. It's a very short triathlon or whatever. And I used to do triathlons full time and all that. And what I noticed, there's so much going on. We're very busy. It's the fall. There's a lot of events. Our team is big. I have 2 daughters and a wife and a family, all these things. And I'm not saying that to complain, but the conversations I'm having with myself at 45 are a lot different and a lot more mature than the conversations I was having with myself professionally at 35. And what I mean by that is, if I'm just not if I'm getting pulled in too many different directions, I can't have a very engaging conversation with you, which is important to me. If I like, oh my gosh, I got to get out the door because I got to go get on the bike for 2 hours. Well, it's probably going to beat me up a little bit and I'm not going to be fully present when I have to do some team calls with the team that I adore, that we work with every day, that I get the opportunity to work with. And so I think what my point is, my point is not expecting too much out of yourself, I think, and just understanding that you can...
Don't beat yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah, you can give yourself exactly a day. Right.
That's exactly right. Yes. That's exactly how it is. Because when I used to work full time, I was operations director for this community development corp, and I would wake up 6:25 every single morning, creep downstairs, tease myself, let myself have a little, make myself a cup of coffee, but not allow myself to have the first sip until I ran whatever my mileage was for the day I had to do. But it set me up for success, but then I would, I would be asleep on the couch at 8 p.m. and the kid wouldn't want to go. The 5-year-old wouldn't want to go to bed. He was probably 3 at the time. He wouldn't want to go to bed until 10:30. He's a late sleeper. He's a night child. So you have to be easy on yourself. And now that I'm running my own thing and I'm doing my own schedule, it's very hard to be disciplined because I'm I can do that, or I can do that, or I can, I can knock out a grant today, or I can send that email, or I can pack that box for, back to school. And, just the trick is, just kind of setting yourself, the time blocking is what I use. I have time blocking on my calendar. There's an hour and 15 minutes every day at lunchtime. And, I do that. Then I tell people, don't call me. Don't come around. Don't email me because I'll be addicted to the phone and want to check and see since the nonprofit since the reading room is my baby, I don't want it to be unattended or anything bad to happen. So I'm addicted to the phone. But it's been a journey, all right. So
no question, and we're learning every day. Right?
Yeah. I mean, one of my directors for my board of directors and I had this idea to send all 20,000 Pittsburgh public school students, each of their schools gets a back to school assembly kit.
Okay.
Where teachers get books for the K through 2nd grade band, and then the 3rd through 5th grade band, and then the 6th through 8th grade band.
Yeah.
And you were okay, well, let's just start raising money. I had no plan. I had no plan what it was going to turn into. So then
are you talking about this was the inception for the reading room?
No, the inception for the reading room was just to remove barriers to access.
Perfect. Okay,
for kids to be able to have home libraries.
But this assembly kit you said turned into something. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to understand. But this assembly kit idea turned into this giant thing, this giant undertaking.
Well, it did. Yeah. My board member and I, we were like, okay, well, let's just do a fundraising campaign. Let's see what we can do with it. I thought for sure we wouldn't do anything. So we set the goal at $4,500, $100 to sponsor a school. And that would enable us to like put together some like literacy resources, some activities, and 4 books for each school, and pencils and like some bookmarks and a little bit of promotional stuff in there so people know who we are, and kids can take that stuff home. And so like I never thought would make it to $4,500. Well, I was on. I like detest my voice and like speaking into just blankness, but I was like doing this with the phone all the time, like recording these crazy campaign updates, and I went through and deleted them all from the Instagram. But they were the thing that got people to like make a gift.
Yeah.
And so like we blew past our $4,500 goal. So I stretched it to $6,000 so we could reach 60 schools in the surrounding suburbs that some of them aren't doing so well. And so then we just like we blew that goal out too. And like we came down to like the final week and I was like, we need like 2 more donors at this point. And then like 5 donors came forth all on the same last day. And we exceeded the goal. So it's been a journey, but like now I have like in my dining room 20,000 parent resource sheets, 20,000 activity sheets for kids, hundreds and hundreds of books. Do you know what like a stack of 20,000 crayon or pencils looks like? I mean, it takes up like half my garage, and I mean, it's been a whole journey, but it's coming together. So I have some help coming next Tuesday to pack boxes.
I was I know you remember I was cheering you on going, keep doing that because they're working because we saw them. And
that's exactly right. And people give to people. People don't give to an email campaign. They don't give to a door drop mailer. They don't. You have to have conversations with people, and that's exactly what I did. Anyone like made like a reaction to our Instagram account or on LinkedIn or any other platform, I immediately was like, oh, I saw you engaged with our work with our social media. Would you be interested in sponsoring a school in Pittsburgh for $100? And I got gifts from like all over the place, like Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Newport Beach, California, Ashland, Oregon, Richmond, Virginia, like all of these bizarre places, like children's book authors were inspired to give to help, and different bookstore owners, and it really took off. And we're 8 months old, so for us to have an average gift of $143 from an individual giving, and we have a repeat donor rate of 16%, only 8 months in. I think that's really speaking good to, what we're doing, and people are behind what we do here. So
I think it's speaking to the connection that you're making. I got your thank you card the other day, by the way. So I was waiting for us to come on here to thank you for that. And I thought that was really thoughtful. And you do an excellent job of it. I love if you say a few things, recently, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. I don't know if you listen to Gary Vee, but there's actually a lot of practicality to what he, teaches folks from a marketing perspective and social networks and, professional networks like LinkedIn, for instance. And he says, scale the unscalable. And what I hear you say is like, every time someone interacted, I looked at that as like hello, I'm here. And you went, oh, okay, well, this is what we're looking to do. And this is how much it costs.
I mean, it really did.
It's like, it's so good.
It really did. And I mean, like we got one gift that was $1,500. So we sponsored 15 schools. So that also adds another layer to it as a startup. Our eventual goal is to open a free bookstore for kids in an under-resourced neighborhood. And we're building funds towards that. So we have the Founder Circle program, which is anybody that gives a 4-figure up to 5-figure gift, anything more than that even, and this guy was like a friend of a board member who happened to see a Facebook post and like made this very late in the day, gift. And I was just like, holy heck. So he and I need to connect and, go have coffee or go to a baseball game or football game or something and find out like what was the motivation there. Cause I sent him the, the donor acknowledgement, but I haven't heard, any reply to my personal email.
Let me ask you a question about that. Just getting into tactics. They saw a post by a board member. Is that what it was? Did you give the board member the information to put out on socials, or was that board? Yeah. Okay. Talk about that, Ryan.
Everyone was so freaking tired of all my communications. I would daily, like whenever we hit like a percentage divisible by 5, like say we were at like 45% of our goal, I would do like a little stupid video like I did, and have like the thermometer on the side kind of, pulsing. And
but your board would share those videos, is what you're saying? That was kind of
I would send out an email to each of them and say, this is what I pushed out on socials today. I would appreciate your help and, pushing it out on yours as well, or sharing it or forwarding it to 5-10 people, and, So, I mean, I think a lot of them came in that way. One of my board members, was able to bring in about $1,700.
Cool. Yeah. Just by following some of your directives. No, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
700. So
that's amazing.
That goal is pretty high. Yeah.
I love hearing about how founders like you, I'm going to say executive directors, CEOs of organizations, give their board tactically exactly what they need to promote what's going on with that mission drive, this program that we're funding right now, because so many times folks in your position, not you, Ryan, because you're an outlier, go, hey, I just wish my board would help me fundraise. Well, it's like, do they know what to say and do they know what to do? And it sounds like you were just like super high touch, just what you do. And if you don't mind me saying, like, I'm not trying to cast you, but you seem pretty no nonsense about boards.
I've worked for organizations where boards do nothing. They don't contribute. They don't speak up. When you ask them a question about a topic that was covered in either a board or a committee meeting, and they say, "Oh, I didn't want to speak up for fear of feeling stupid, but I didn't understand that section of the meeting." I've been met with those kind of responses in the past, and that was in an operations role, and I was like the staff liaison for a few committees at different times. And just remembering like past presidents, I worked for the Vitalent Foundation, the blood donation people. And not to besmirch anybody there, but the president of the foundation at the time would be like, the board is not, giving. They're, what's expected. And I was just like, I'm not going to have that. In fact, I was 2 months. No, I was 1 quarter into running this organization. And what I did was I thought it would be great to just reach out to people that I knew in my own orbit that did kind of launch their own thing. And so we had an inaugural board meeting in January of this year. And then in April, 2 folks showed up. And it was virtual. It wasn't like you had to come anywhere or fight traffic or anything.
Yeah.
So I
you're like, you're my people. You're my people.
I sent out. In theory, it was great. Everyone knew how to launch an organization, but in reality, they were all trying to help their organization survive.
Okay.
So they were all in this new funding landscape that we're in, and they were all kind of juggling too many things. And that's why I sent out a mass email. I was like, hey, no harm, no foul. But if you don't want to be involved anymore, I can respect that. And, just if you ever want to be involved in the future in a volunteer role, something smaller, that's up to you. And so I ended up losing, I'd say 80% of that inaugural board, and that was after 1/4 of a 2-year term per the bylaws. And I just as founder, I like looked it up, and I was like, you completely dissolve the board if you want, if it's if you're the founder, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give people the opportunity to stay on, and some of them did. So they've been real helpful. But I don't know if you hear this, but like people complain they can never get anybody to reply to their job postings about boards. I got such an overwhelming response. I brought on, I think, 9, maybe 10 new board members in July.
I saw that.
Yeah,
where you were
it was huge. It was huge. Yeah, I put the ad out, and I don't know if I'm just a guy in my dining room trying to give free books to kids that need them. And all these people want to help, and they have great ideas. And now it's much more engaged and much more kind of streamlined and professional. And like their understandings that, I love that. Time, treasure, or talent,
You just said give free books to kids that don't have access. You're in Pittsburgh. Tell folks I'm a little overdue here, 15 minutes.
What do you do?
Yeah, but you're entrepreneurial. There's an entrepreneurial spirit behind what you're doing. And obviously you're doing God's work by helping, put books in kids' hands that need it. I was a voracious reader growing up 40 plus years ago. And I see the value in it. I have friends that are raising money and started foundations, dealing with different learning disabilities and things like that. So it's very near and dear to us as an organization and to me personally. But talk about this dream that became, the Reading Room Pittsburgh, and then that you're operating out of your dining room. It's a pretty darn cool story. Yeah.
Well, I'm an adoptive parent twice over, and when my second child, Anne, was born. She's 16 months now. And, I kind of got into that reflective mood that we were talking about earlier, self-reflective. And I was like, okay, well, the way I talk to myself at 48 or at the time, or 49 now, is different than I did, in my 20s and 30s and whatnot. But, I started thinking about like some of those birth mom stories that were kind of tragic, like we were scammed a few times. And then even the 2 birth moms that were able to, successfully complete an adoption plan with us had just like stories about like the scarcity of resources and the inability to financially support a child. So that's why they chose adoption. And I love my kids for it, but I thought like, well, there's got to be like some way that I can take like something that I'm interested in reading and work it into something that will be good for kids and also be good for my own karma, because I've been so lucky to have kids through adoption. So that was one of the main drivers. But I was a voracious reader from a very young age. I walked myself to the library 3 streets over when I was 6 years old, got my first library card myself, and came home like with this wobbling tower of books. And it just never stopped. I had a really, really great honors world lit teacher in high school, and her name was Mrs. Lynch at Central Catholic here in Pittsburgh. And she's still teaching, from what I understand, all these years later. I was in her class in 1990, and it was an all boys school, and she took these all kind of boys, 14 years old, maybe 15 years old, totally not even remotely interested in literature, and she taught us better than any lit class I've had at the graduate level in my life. Yeah. So, she really inspired that whole class. She actually taught Zachary Quinto. He was the year after me, but I transferred out by then. So it's been an interesting journey. It really has. But it's been something that I wanted to do for a long time. I've always. But is that bothering you? Can you hear that?
No, it's fine. It's life, man. You're at your house. Okay. Yeah, I get
it. It's been a whirlwind, because like I said, I've worked for a series of nonprofits, and during that same formative time, my freshman year of high school, where I was, Central Catholic is right next door to WQED TV. Okay. And we had to do community service. So my mom was like, well, why don't you just make it easy on yourself and walk next door and answer phones for WQED. So that's what I did for an entire year at as a freshman. And then the summer between my freshman and sophomore years, I actually like volunteered full time in donor services. So I learned a lot about like the tax acknowledgments and following up on pledges and like how to talk to people correctly and the soft skills that they don't teach you in school. And I think that's what really set me up for success, that drive. And I've always been ever since, even if I went into the private sector for a couple of years, which I did after college, because there was problems. I graduated between 9/11 and the 2007, the 2007,
economic
meltdown. Yeah. And I had to, find other things to do. But then, fast forward, got married. My first son was born. And then I stayed home with him. And then when I got back into work, I was like, I'm only focusing on nonprofits. So I went to the American Academy of Audiology.
Okay.
I started there in December of 2019. And COVID, I was like a kind of like operations person. And I hit that point where at 3 months, I didn't even know everybody's staff's name there, but I had to like order all the laptops for everybody to work from home. COVID hit and it totally changed everything. So, when I kind of rose to the challenge too. When I hit the point where I was able to, successfully get everyone transitioned to working from home, the board ended up deciding that they were going to do a RIF, and they eliminated 3 positions, one being their foundation, the American Academy of Audiology Foundation coordinator. One was like a membership manager type position. And then one was like another thing that helped audiologists get their CEUs to keep their state licensure.
Okay.
And they let go of all 3 people, and they said, Ryan, you can do that. Like it's not, the operations aren't as, crazy as they were, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so I took on all those roles. I rose to that occasion. And then like we were living in DC area at the time. And it's at a certain point that real estate market hit a tipping point where we said, okay, we bought that house in Sterling, Virginia. Now we need to, move somewhere where we can like have like a very nice house rather than a 1970s mini faux Brady Bunch house. And we were able to move to Pittsburgh, which I'm from Pittsburgh to begin with.
Yeah.
And like we were able to afford like a very nice like brick house on a private road with some land, and we love it. So like the reading room is my finished basement, which we all thought would be like a very nice, kind of like, I don't know, hangout, kind of home theater or something, but it's the reading room down there. I mean, it's chaos, and there are kids' books that people have donated left, right, and center, just everywhere. So, So that's kind of how we came up, So,
and the goal was to just start affecting like one school at a time, public schools specifically in.
Well, there are certain, like the education in the U.S. I've done like. I went to art school for
my wife's a 5th grade teacher. I totally get it. Yeah.
You said that, you told me that before. That's right. Yeah. But we really differ on a lot of ways from all the other education systems around the world. Like there's no one set curriculum that they teach from coast to coast in the US, and tends to be a problem, depending on what zip code you're in, you might get lucky or you might not, and, there's economically disadvantaged areas, obviously. And, disproportionately people of color, which, is even a bigger problem there. I can't solve that myself. But, I thought like what I could do is, dig into some of these school statistics. And there's one school here in Pittsburgh specifically that has a 10.4 grade level literacy rate.
Okay.
That means that 89.6% of the students aren't reading at grade level.
Okay.
So, that's the area that I would love to eventually launch this bookstore into. We've gotten some early support from grants from Better World Books and the Remake Learning Foundation, and also West Elm Williams Sonoma gave us a community impact grant, which I was not expecting at all because they applied on my behalf, and it was a whole weird thing that happened there.
Yeah.
But you know, like the little pennies and things like that are starting to add up, and you know, so hopefully by next year at this time we'll have a functioning free bookstore and also kind of like an educational program.
That's awesome. That's
component to it. Yeah.
You seem. You said you deleted all your videos. You're silly, but you do seem.
I don't want them out there.
Unabashed.
I am. I mean, like I will talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime about money. I really will. I will ask them straight up, and people will say, "Ryan, you can't say that." I was like, "Well, we need more." Like, what do the people working at the foundations like? If you're going to have a 40-minute Zoom call with somebody at this endowment or that foundation, like they don't want like some like. But maybe they do. They want you to kind of, you know, give a pay your dues, you know, and in such a way. But I don't. Yeah. I go right in there and I say, you know, I need, because I made a mistake once. I remember I was with the I had some screen time with the VP of Dollar Bank's community engagement program.
Okay.
Or community development program. And both he and I had forgotten about the meeting, and we got on there late. And so like this was very early on as running this reading room myself. I got on there with him and he's like, well, what do you need? And I said, well, what do you typically give? And then as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I could have like banged my head on the desk. And, I should have told him I needed $10,000 and hoped for 8 or 7. But, I shrunk away from that. So now I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed at all to say like, I'm this little tiny new guy and, you know, I need some support and, you know, so. I haven't really earned any kind of salary since January, you know, so I'm kind of doing this as a volunteer type of thing.
You're in full-time, you know, startup mode still. I totally get it.
Yeah.
What, you know, for the folks, because I great fundraisers that have come on the show have all kind of said the same thing. I'm not afraid to talk. I talk about what we're doing to everyone that will listen. The Uber driver, the checkout line of the grocery store, that Zoom call that I have with the foundation. I will talk to anybody at any time about what we're doing and what we need and how great the need is. What do you think it is that stops people, that gives people pause when it comes to, and we even reframed it, Ryan, where it's like, stop worrying about asking, start inviting, start talking about the work. And, you know, every $100 funds one school. So it's really cool to quantify it that way. But like, what do you think stops people that don't have that natural alacrity for talking about what's needed and once again, asking and inviting people to give?
Well, there's some people are timid. I don't know if you ever heard of this neighborhood called Lawrenceville in Pittsburgh. It was like in 2017. It's had a total renaissance. Back when I was young, it was like very kind of like tough, and everyone had this really, really like kind of like rough Pittsburgh accent about them, and it was hard nosed. I mean, like I remember my sister got in a fist fight with like a guy and like knocked him out, and he like went home crying to his mom, and that was just kind of how the neighborhood was. Everyone knew each other. Everyone knew each other's moms. Everyone knew each other's dads. You knew the people across the street. My grandmother lived up the hill. My aunt lived up around the corner. My other aunt lived down the street and around the corner. And all my cousins, we would all play together and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was a scrappy place. Yeah. And, you know, if you didn't say what you needed, you were sure as hell not going to get it. You had to just be very straightforward and direct with people. And now it's turned into this kind of hipster haven, which is wild. It was in 2017, I think it was voted the coolest neighborhood in America.
Oh, wow.
It has like the highest per capita of women-owned businesses in the U.S. in their business district there. And it's very hip, very artsy, very kind of like queer now and very cool, what I wish it would have been when I was a kid. But, you know, with that comes raising rent prices and home value prices. So I don't know how long they can ride that out. But back in the day, I mean, like you had to like really kind of like speak up for yourself or you were just going to get trounced on. And I'm also the youngest of 4.
Yeah.
So, if I wasn't advocating for myself in the household because there's a 9-year gap between me and my next sibling.
Okay.
You know, and she's 9 years older than me. So like, if I wasn't going to say what I wanted and needed, no one was going to be like, oh, Ryan, what do you want and need?
Totally.
Nobody cared. My parents were checked out by then. They didn't want to,
Yeah.
My mom had me when she was 40, I guess. Yeah. And my dad was probably 45. So they were like, no, you're Gen X, we it's all over the news that you guys can take care of yourselves, latchkey kids and all that. So, it's that is kind of how it was. So, But I don't know if there's something like in people's like background that it was, or if there's just, I don't know what's baked into us. But one thing that I do know is that a lot of us do like bemoan funders.
Okay.
And so like privately off screen, like we'll be like, oh, well, like this one, you can't apply until you've been around for so long. And, that stinks. And, then you start talking about personality. I don't know if people like absorb negativity from their work environment or what, but I've certainly heard a lot of that kind of noise, and I just chose to like filter it out. And I went into this thing thinking that I was going to be able to raise $300,000 in my first year. Boy, was I wrong. But being a startup, you're very agile, and you can like pivot. And like when like federal funding kind of almost totally went away, I was like, okay, well now our focus is completely on corporate sponsorships and individual giving.
Yes.
And we're not going to worry about that unless we have time to write a grant, which, I don't mind doing. I like them. Yeah. But, I don't have time to like do that and pack the boxes and be out there at the different events, giving books away and having meetings at the library, things like that, and all these different connections I've made. So, I try to put the bulk of my ability where it's best suited.
Totally.
And that would be with the individual giving and the corporate sponsorships, because that seems to be where I've, had the most success.
I hear you say there's a pattern evolving where it sounds like it's really about more people and the relationships and and you seem very, very focused on making sure that these relationships are intact, not just after the first gift, but well into the future. Like you're literally developing partnerships, it sounds like, with people, even if they only gave $100. Talk to folks, talk to the audience, even if they're a small startup like you, or even a larger org that's been around for 10 years or what have you. Talk to folks about like how important doubling down on those relationships, no matter how small they start, for instance. And I'm just adding a dollar figure, for instance, or label to that. But like these are all so important because you never know where they're going to go.
That's exactly right. You don't know where it's going to go. I mean, like one of my best partnerships is with this brewery in Pittsburgh here, Trace Brewing in Bloomfield. And, anytime in past jobs, I like reached out to them, like, can you donate some beer to this fundraiser that we're doing? And they're glad to do it. They're very engaged with like the art scene and the nonprofit scene. But, I got them to sponsor two Pittsburgh public schools with our back to school campaign for the reading assembly kits. And, it was just a matter of asking, and just not taking it too seriously, not being too afraid to pick up the phone if you're not getting answers. What I usually do, not for an individual giving campaign, but for like if I'm doing an event or something like that and I'm trying to raise money that way, I do send emails to people I'm familiar with. First, that's my first line of defense, and at least they have it in front of them. And then I'll wait about a week or two and then start doing some follow-up phone calls and like, hey, at a previous job we asked a funeral home to donate to sponsor an event, and they did. And I didn't know the lady who ran the funeral home used to know my mom and really looked up to my mom like a million years ago. Yeah. And so like there is like that personal touch. Yeah. If you can find it with everybody, and you can find it with everybody, that's the thing.
People you really can. I mean, even this conversation with you and I is no different. I mean, we have things, and we both have young children. We met on LinkedIn. You came to a webinar. I'm like, hey man, thanks for coming.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Too. Yeah. And that's what I think the outpouring I've seen for this most recent campaign, I don't know where it came from. I really don't. Like I'll have to do like a moratorium one day when like all the books are shipped out to all these schools and everything in my dining room is cleaned up again. I'm gonna have to like sit down and think like, what did I do? That was just like, what was the sizzle, because I don't know what it was. I can't, I can't tell you because I was in it and I'm still just coming out of it.
Yeah. You were absolutely in it. But I mean, I'm just going to go and throw a few things at you. I mean, obviously people care about kids reading. That's pretty obvious, right? So that's pretty cool. But you bleed sincerity. I think that's really, really huge. You would bleed for the cause. It's astonishing and really, really cool to think about. But at the same time, I think that there's some connectivity pieces here though too. Is like where you said there's like people in Ashland, Oregon, which is an hour and a half to my north from where I am, gave to help support a school in Pittsburgh. Well, that just goes to show you.
That's a Facebook friend who happened to see something on my personal Facebook account, not even on the reading room. You have to live it and breathe it and like put it wherever you can, in front of people. Yeah. And if they feel compelled to give, if they have a soft spot for reading or something like that, like at no point did I ever feel like I was badgering anybody over this last campaign, and like going actually into the way into the back, back years, with different asks for individual giving and things like that. But it's all really just kind of, getting to know your donors, A lot of the early ones were like family and friends. And like now we've kind of like expanded on that. And that's good. Yeah. Because, we need to. So, you can't, keep recycling the same people every time you do a campaign. So, but I think there is something just about like the authenticity, No question. And I do have a preternatural instinct for who I want to work with. Yeah. And who I just do not want to work with at all. Okay. And I mean, like, I don't care if it's a bazillion-dollar endowment. If I don't like the vibe, I'm not going to spend any time on it. If there's like an area where I had like a conversation with somebody at a CDC in a leadership role, and I thought about like maybe like, well, let's explore real estate options in this area because the school district might need some help. If I get a vibe that's like, I'm immediate. I just shut it. I'll give it 2 chances. If both chances are bad, then I'm done. I'm just completely out of that whole entire relationship. Yeah, and also with other literacy organizations, sometimes they like think like, oh, this is a new guy in town and he knows how to use ChatGPT and he knows how to use Instagram and da 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 da. We better join forces to like shut them down. I'm like, well, let me tell someone from old school Lawrenceville that they can't do something, and they're going to show you that they can, and they can do it just as well, if not better. So, it's there's definitely, there needs to be like a level, like you said, of toughness. Not taking no's too hard. I hear you saying being protective of your time. Being nice to everybody, but if you don't feel that reciprocation, move on. It's a very big world. There's a lot of different opportunities. That's exactly
There's a tremendous
right.
amount of money in the system. There's all these things that are in your favor.
There is. That's exactly right. And I learned really kind of, I don't know, Jen Wassam?
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
She's with Generous Philanthropy. I thought maybe you would be connected to her on LinkedIn. She like took a photo of, she donated to the back to school campaign, and she's like very big on like how to do things right and cultivate donors and da 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 da. And she like took a photo of my tax acknowledgement letter and the bookmark that I sent everybody. Yeah. And she like took a photo of it, and she like just line by line said like, these are the 10 things that this guy did right, in his donor acknowledgement. And she's like a top voice. She has like 12,000 philanthropy engaged people following her. Yeah. So like I woke up one morning and I was just like, wait a minute, how did my tax acknowledgement letter get on LinkedIn? I wasn't even out of bed yet. Yeah. And sure enough, like 105 people were giving me, because I went out, I found like, here's our bookmark. Here,
yeah, I got one.
Here's our bookmark.
Yeah, you sent me one. Yeah.
And then like I write the note with, how hard it was to find this pen, to write a personalized note that's the same color as our hex code for our, logo. But, it's those little touches, I think that, really, and I've learned, I picked those up over time, going back to when I was 15 at WQED and, coming forward to when I was at the Vitalin Foundation or other places like that as well. Like you take what you can from the best people out there.
You picked up a lot of you've developed a lot of fundamentals. It sounds like, and like you said, attention to detail. What's very interesting when it comes to those kinds of fundamentals and consistency and the messaging and attention to detail is that human beings recognize that.
People notice. That's exactly right.
People absolutely notice. They notice the little things, and if they don't, if a certain person doesn't notice the same color of the logo, they'll notice something else because we all have our own. We're all inside of our own head. Some people notice everything, and
the one thing that Jen did say is she was really pleased that text acknowledgement letter did not have another ask in it.
Super smart.
Yeah, I don't want things to ever feel transactional. I want to feel like, because there are like a lot of like PBS stations I donated when we lived in Northern Virginia, or when I lived in Chicago, or when I lived in Denver. I've lived all over the U.S. and for different jobs and things like this. Yeah. But like I get those very impersonal, window envelope type things with like blah blah blah, and like I mean, we need your support. And I was like, I have never. You don't even know that I've moved out of the area, and there are ways to clean your data so that that you're talking to your broadcast area. And it's just some of that stuff is a struggle bus to even look at. It all goes with me. It goes directly into the garbage. I say that advertising does not work on me. It does not work on me at all. Like I've used the same cologne for a billion years. I've worn the same brand of like underwear for the last million years. And, like no amount of advertising can penetrate me. And like, I see this kind of stuff and I'm like, you're not trying. Yeah. You're not trying to win my business. You're not trying to win my dollars, and you're casting the net so far that it feels just so impersonal that, I'm not even going to do it. But like anytime when I send out my appeal letters, those are kind of the same way. I actually sign them. Yep. And hopefully if I have a connection to the donor, I'll say, many thanks for considering me, or a personal note is attached to that. But, I mean, it's
from an attention.
I may take a lot of time. It may suck up a lot of time, and as the reading room grows, I may not have time to do that much attention to detail. But that like donor cultivation is so important, and I see some people that like I'll talk to people and they're like, I don't know how to cultivate this donor based on the way that the CRM is and I'm like, well, do you talk to them? Do you did you talk to all of them? I mean, like, I don't know how big the organization is that you're working for, but the mass emails. And then even like when I was doing this last campaign, I sent out a lot of like 1 or 2 emails a week with campaign updates, and the click rates weren't that high, but the open rates were extremely high. And, I don't know. So
we talk about what doesn't work for you. You say, and admittedly, you're a tough nut to crack, but what have you seen in our space recently? If anything jumps to mind, what have you seen that has caught your attention, that has worked? Other than your own, of course. No.
In the donor space, I see individuals stepping up in light of, especially after, like I couldn't get out of bed the day that the the federal funding for PBS was shut down, because that's where I got my start at WQED.
Okay.
And I mean, like, the people that care rallied in such a big way that, like, the president of NPR and the president of PBS both came out, and they were like, "Oh, you can't." Yeah, they weren't trying like tactics. They weren't like trying like putting on like Elmo crying from Sesame Street, or like, you know, like they weren't trying to go for anything that was like to make you feel bad. They came out and they were serious, but these are serious times. I think that's what I've seen a lot of, is individuals responding to philanthropic giving in ways that they didn't before federal funding started getting cut.
Because they've been called to duty, so to speak.
Yeah. Like, well, right? I mean, they're just doing it. I think people are generally good, you know, and they'll give if you ask them, you know. Like,
do you think that some of those folks that were in that position, like the NPR folks or what have you, that were in these management positions, do you think that there's, how do I word this delicately? Because they're not the only ones that have experienced cuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
well, those are the ones that I'm the most in tune with.
I totally get it.
Of my, some interests.
It's a great working case. And what I just want to talk through, not having a plan B, but I want to talk through not having all your eggs in one basket, for instance. And this could apply to so many, right? You see what I'm saying, Ryan? I'm being very delicate deliberately, because I do believe people are inherently good as well. And I don't want people to experience pain and setback. I've done all the personality tests. I want everyone to be happy. That's just like,
people pleaser.
I'm happy. Yeah. I don't like walking on eggshells, man. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'm perpetually walking on eggshells because I want everyone to be happy. Exactly that's just how I am, man. Like I like things to be mellow, right? But like, speak to that, like where it's like when the shoe drops. It's not that it was too late to like start getting individual giving, but the money is out there. I think that's my point, Ryan. It's like the connectivity piece. You just identified it with your own giving experience with this most recent campaign. There's more money in the system than has ever been in the system in the history of mankind, and the transfer of that wealth. We've had this conversation a lot recently. The transfer of that wealth is happening and taking place apparently over the next 15 years. And it is in excess of $70 trillion. So there's no problem with the amount of money in the system. It sounds like there's a little bit of a problem with identifying where that money is going to come from. So speaking to like the head of NPR, who has advertisers and different connections that they've probably made, I don't know who that person is, that they've made over decades. Why haven't they, for instance, had a mitigation plan, or do they, or speak to how important that might be, you know, for folks?
I think a lot of folks just kind of, and I've seen this happen in an organization I worked with in the past. It was funded over 12 years, fully funded, soup to nuts, with one of those neighborhood partnership program federal grants. And they were coming up on the second 6-year cycle, and there was no, and the budget for the next year showed I want to say like $165,000 shortfall. And I was, as operations in that organization, I was like, well, what are we going to do to raise $165,000? And nobody wanted to think about it. No one wanted to. I think
scary.
The leadership, the leadership was not interested and didn't have that type of personality to go out and meet with foundations. She hated it, and I wouldn't want to if I hated it. I mean, it would be like, it wouldn't turn out good. If you're not into it, you're not into it. But so I don't know. I mean, there's always a path forward. That's the thing. It's like whether or not you can like rally a team or rally yourself or rally the entire United States who watches parents whose kids were raised on Sesame Street, things like that. I mean, like if you can like, really tap into, I hate to say it, but like people's like,
Well, emotion.
That's exactly right.
I mean, emotion ties to emotion, heartstrings tied to the wallet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're not going to give to something that you're not moved to give to.
Yeah.
But that kind of like I said earlier, I'm in a position as a startup to like pivot very quickly because I'm not beholden to funders. I don't have streams coming in from all sorts of other things dumping into different programs and that kind of stuff. So, everything that I'm able to produce, because I went out and
you were outgoing,
got the grant, or got the, got the gift. The gift, exactly. Yeah. So if you want to eat, if you're in survival mode, you just
the most brilliant. I think you're a brilliant fundraiser. The most brilliant fundraiser I've ever met happens to be my partner, Jason Ledlow, and he coaches nonprofits daily. And I've learned the majority of what I know, he'll forget, but I learned a lot from him. And he says when the chips are down, people go, what do you do? And he says, well, you pick up the phone, you call your biggest supporters.
That's exactly right.
And most of those people would go, are you kidding me? With the feedback, most of the time when you really have those raving fans, I like to call them raving fans, or your biggest supporters, your biggest stakeholders, they've invested in your organization. Most of them would actually go, well, why'd you wait this long to call me? Do you know what I mean? Like we want to make sure this guy, don't ever let that get in the way of you pick up the phone and calling me. Like, how do you feel about hearing something like that?
And that's true. And there are ways now with like different like communications tools. Like I use Constant Contact. I can go into like a campaign email setting and see how many unique clicks I have, and then pull down a report of all clicks or all opens, and I'll like run it through Excel, and I'll use conditional formatting, and I'll say, okay, well, these are all the people that opened it more than 3 times.
Smart.
So I'm going to send them a personal email, and like if it sticks, it sticks. And in the last couple of cases, I tried that, though it didn't work.
Yeah.
But like using like the kind of like drip, I think they call it. I don't call it that.
Yeah,
but,
you're segmenting. You're segmenting, and you're putting them through like a journey or a communication journey.
But that turns that I can forward you what I sent out to these people. But I said I happened to notice that dear donor, I did a mail merge just for my personal account. Yeah, I said, dear so and so, I noticed that you spent a little bit of time with our fundraising email, and I'm just wondering if there were any questions about what we're doing that you can, so when you phrase it like that, and it's not quite so like what's left, you left something in your cart, that kind of mentality with your donor, with your email drips. Yeah, it's not, it comes off a little bit more genuine.
I love it when you say you send a personal message. I think that's huge. I ask a question, Ryan, every episode about fundraising is hard. We talked about that. Running a business is hard. Running a startup is hard. Being a founder is hard. It doesn't get easier. Sorry, everybody. It doesn't get easier. But I also hear, I'm not answering for you. My question is, fundraising is hard. We accept that premise. Don't make it more difficult by doing what? And there's so much that's come out of this conversation where I'm just like, it sounds like don't make it more difficult by not being personal. But I want to hear your response. Fundraising is hard, but don't make it more difficult by doing what?
By getting too much into your own head.
Good
because
answer.
That is like, we're like all the like negative, like I'm not good enough. They're going to say no. And you want to shrink away from that like negative sting that you get when you get a no. That this doesn't feel good, but you have to go through those to get to find out who your real supporters are, and you need that kind of like, like when you get a grant rejection, you're like, for a couple hours, then you're like, okay, well, I got that rejection. Let me see what else is out there. Let me see if I can improve on this one, or, rewrite something, or reassess my data points or whatever. And, that kind of like getting a rejection or a no is to me, it's like, it motivates me to, push hard, not push harder, because I'm not pushy at all.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe I like have to like revisit my case for support, or maybe I have to, revisit my sponsorship deck if it's not landing with people.
Yeah.
And, but you have to. It's a numbers game. It really is. The more people you talk to, the more gifts you'll get.
Totally.
The more grant proposals you put out, the more grants you'll get. You can't just wait and be paralyzed by fear of rejection. Don't ever let that get in your way.
I love that you're talking about that from a psychological standpoint, because like you said, fear, rejection, insecurity, a lot of, not for everyone, but a lot of times those are things that are generated in between our own ears.
That's exactly. And it is. It's in your own head. It's in your own head. Yeah. It's not, I mean, like, I'm raising two kids under 5, like, you don't think I hear what a bad job I'm doing every day. Like, no donor can tell me anything worse than my kids will say to me,
No joke.
So, that's kind of how it goes. Yeah. And you just have to roll with it,
I appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate you always being so open to sharing too. You don't take any of the videos down, man. They're good. Please.
You think so?
I know so.
I just hate seeing my own face. I don't know. And usually, like, when I post it, I have to get better at how I lay out the cover photo or something. Because
it ain't about you, man. It's about the reading room anyway. Hey, speaking of the video, we have a very talented fundraising auctioneer, friend of ours. It's been on the episode, a friend of the episode, and a friend of HGA's, Erin Kinzel. Check out Erin on LinkedIn. She's a video savant and teaches people like little tricks. How to, like,
keep your face in the center so that your words don't cut off at the top and bottom.
She's awesome. And you should tell her that I sent you. And you can definitely learn from her, because we certainly have. She's fantastic. So
cool.
But yeah, keep doing it, man. Like I said, it's awesome. This is your invite to come back. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about things after year 1 is complete and then year 2 and beyond. Because we're invested in, and we're fans of the work that you all are doing, and I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll have ways that folks can find you on LinkedIn and find about the reading room in the show notes of the episode and all that good stuff. So do us a favor, show Ryan some love on LinkedIn, and feel free to donate to the reading room, because he's doing amazing work at bringing folks books, kids books in the Pittsburgh area, and only going up. So appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much for the time.
Perfection is the enemy of progress. So you're not going to raise the money until you make the ask. You're not going to appeal to somebody's heart and, have them donate to your organization unless you tell them why. That's the beauty of being a small business, a consultant, is that I get to try, tweak things as I go, just to make the experience better for everyone.